want to talk about the castle doctrine and also the stand your versus the stand your ground law. And so, Omar, castle doctrine versus stand your ground. What are we talking about there?
Yeah, so castle doctrine to me, I believe, is being in your either car, your residence,
Hmm.
and it's essentially your castle. And I looked into it a couple weeks ago, and it seemed like it said, you're not required to retreat further into your home if there's an aggressive person at the door, somebody trying to attack you. When I believe it used to be that rule where you had to try and further retreat into your home, get into a room and lock the door. It seems like Texas allows you to defend yourself right at your doorstep if there's a threat at your doorstep. And as far as stand your ground, that's more in a public situation. You're on the open, where again somebody's threatening your life, and you're legally allowed to stand your ground and defend yourself uh, with a firearm if needed.
All
And
right,
that's
you're
that.
all you're like 80% there.
Yeah, that's my
All right, I'm gonna
rough
get you. I'm gonna get you
explanation.
100% there.
Yeah.
All right, so and you're right. The castle doctrine is all about you should feel safe in three different places. When it comes to the castle doctrine, you should feel safe at home, your vehicle, and your place of business. That's the castle doctrine. If someone attempts to enter, someone attempts to remove you from your home, your vehicle, your place of business, you can use force, a deadly force, to stop them. If someone attempts to enter your home while it's occupied, your vehicle while it's occupied, your place of business while it's occupied, or remove you from those three places, you can use force, a deadly force, to stop them. That is the castle doctrine. And you know what? And give me a call. Our call in number is 512-643-5483. That is 512-643-5483. Give me a call and ask some questions about the castle doctrine or the stand your ground law. Are there any cases out there, any shooting situations that you want to discuss or break down a little bit? Any videos out there? Let's talk about it. Let's break this stuff down. The stand your ground law, what that means is anywhere I have a right to be, as long as I'm not committing a crime, as long as I'm not trespassing, as long as if someone else is committing aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, aggravated robbery, they're attempting to enter or remove me from my home, my vehicle, my place of business, I can stand my ground, have no duty to retreat. There are some other states out there, some other states that if there's a way out, you have to take that way out. You have to leave your home and run out the window. Jump out the window if there's a window in that room, but not in Texas, because that is your home. And that person should know they're not supposed to be there in your house. So, or wherever you have a right to be, you can stand your ground. You have no duty to retreat. So stand your ground, folks. Man, I tell you, it's been crazy here lately. Just over the last few hours today, there's been several police chases in the Austin, Texas area. Someone's robbed a freaking what is it? A pawn shop. Man, it's been pretty crazy over here. I don't know. Is it the heat? Is it because it's 100 degrees in Texas? I don't know what's going on, but it's been pretty insane. So definitely, you need to arm up, stay armed, protect the family. It is up to you as the head of your household. You got to keep your family members safe. And if something happens, that's your fault, your responsibility, because you were not packing that particular day. You decided not to carry your firearm because you thought that you were not going into a dangerous area. I don't go to any dangerous areas. Every area I go to is very safe. But crazy show up in those safe areas. So wherever crazy shows itself, I need to defend myself. Right, Michael?
Absolutely. I mean, what else can you do? I mean, it's like you said, if you're the head of a household or you are by yourself, right? I mean, in many cases, there are women living alone, right? And what is the great equalizer? It is a firearm that is going to be able to protect yourself and make sure that if anyone enters your home or messes with you in your vehicle, that you have a great equalizer to make sure that to deter that individual.
Absolutely. And and the weird thing is, here in Austin, well, all around the country actually, you've had people that live in apartment complexes. And in your apartment complex, a lot of times there's a crawl space above the apartment. And that crawl space, you can actually get to other apartments within that crawl space if you knock down a certain wall. And it happens quite a bit No one likes to discuss this. No one wants to talk about it. The fact that people are crawling into a crawl space in a neighboring apartment, knocking down that wall, and then crawling down into the apartment where ladies live, maybe sleeping, maybe they're away.
Yeah, there was a girl that came through my basic firearm safety class who told that story.
Hmm.
She had her German Shepherd, right? And like a small pocket knife, and that was it.
That's all she had. Yeah. And,
Oof.
and so someone actually, one of her neighbors crawled into the crawl space, knocked on the wall, waited until she was home and she was by herself, crawled down from that crawl space into her apartment. While she was there, she saw, the dog heard something. And then all of a sudden she saw something. She took off running, grabbed the dog, grabbed her phone, ran into a bathroom, locked the door. The person was behind her. She's pulling the door. That person's trying to pull the door and open it while she's inside. She calls 911. The police get there. They never go up to the crawl space. They never went up to the crawl space to figure out, where that person came from. And so that person wasn't caught. And so she noticed later on, she would go back to her apartment and things were moved in the apartment in different spaces while she wasn't there. So apparently someone had gone down into her apartment while she was not there, rummaging around in her bedroom, in her bed. It was messed up, wasn't made. She would come back to the apartment. That's very unsettling.
That's a violation right there.
Oh, it's crazy. Oh, and she didn't want to go back there. She left. I said, hey, you know, that's when friends have to step up to the plate. And law enforcement can't help everything. They can't be everywhere. So let me tell you, that's when hey, call me up. I'd love to show up with an AR-15 and escort you inside the house. We'll make sure nothing happens there.
You're a good man, Michael.
All right. So you know what? Let's go back to talking about the Castle Doctrine. Let's talk about the stand your ground law. So you know, Omar, what are some of the things you think about the Castle Doctrine and stand your ground law?
Well, I actually had an incident a few weeks ago. It was with a ex female roommate and her aggressive boyfriend coming over, unexpectedly, no text message, anything, and demanding things from the home. This guy is much bigger than me, probably like 80 pounds on me, and I answered the door. I said, "Why are you guys here?" They said, "We want this stuff." I said, "Okay, I'll go get it." And then he comes to enter the home, and I said, "No, you guys can wait out here." I go to close the door. He puts his hand on the door and stops me from closing it. And I said, "Get your hand off the door. This isn't your home. I'll go get your items if you need them." And I'm trying to close the door, and he's keeping the door open. And at that point, I honestly wasn't sure what to do because I wasn't read up, on the castle doctrine and things at that point. And he basically shoved his way into the home. They went into her room,
Oh no, see, yeah.
and I called the police. Actually, I called 911, and they showed up and kind of helped settle some things.
Stick to the script.
Yeah,
This person entered my home
yeah,
unlawfully. I asked them to leave. They refused to
yeah,
leave. What's going on? This person entered my home unlawfully. I asked them to leave. They refused to leave. This person forced their way into my apartment. I asked them to leave. They refused to leave. I would stick to the script and repeat it over and over again.
yeah. That's what happened, and I wasn't sure what to do because I mean, this is why I want to talk about this subject to learn about it and to learn like what my rights are as somebody, as living in a home, being able to defend it. I wasn't sure if I would be deemed as the aggressor if I just pulled out a weapon and pointed it at him.
Especially that person, because that person is not on a lease. They forced their way in. I want someone arrested. I expect for someone to be arrested and to go to jail. They're lucky I didn't pull my firearm out. Before you do that, you need to have a legal plan, folks. Before you think about pulling out a gun out and using it, because life is precious. Don't be so quick to take life, because life cannot be replaced. Property can, life cannot. So you do have to ask yourself if that's something that is this something that I want to do? That this person is trying to take my life. Do I need to stop them from trying to take my life? So you have to ask yourself that. And you should get yourself a legal plan. That's why U.S. Law Shield is very important.
Yeah, no, I agree as well with that. I don't. I've looked into gun insurance. I've been seeing a lot of Instagram posts about, uh, what to do if you do get in a situation. It's good to have insurance as well, and so that's
Right.
another field that I've been trying to get more knowledge on as well.
And we come back from the break, we'll finish that thought. Because people make these mistakes all the time, you know. And it's funny because you know what, Zach?
Huh.
About a week or so ago, we had Nico Daisy in the lights carry handgun course.
Ah, I remember Nico
Nico
Daisy.
Daisy. Remember Nico Daisy, folks? Nico Daisy.
Oh, yeah, back from the protest days.
Yeah. So back when they had that protest in 2020, when what was his name?
Garrett Foster,
Garrett-
Daniel Perry.
That's right. So when Garrett Foster was carrying an AK-47, wearing in tactical gear, wearing a face mask, it's 10 o'clock at night. He's participating in the protest, blocking traffic, using his girlfriend as a
Human shield.
as a human shield to stop traffic on the road, on Congress Avenue and other roads, on the access road of 35. They came across Daniel Perry, who was driving for a rideshare company, Uber, and dropped off a passenger on the 4th Street, made a right turn into Congress. As he makes that right turn, the protesters were coming up Congress. He comes to a stop. They surround his vehicle. They're pounding on his vehicle. It's like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, pitch dark. Garrett Foster's carrying an AK-47, wearing that face mask, tactical gear. He, to Daniel Perry, he perceives as, pulling the gun up, in a high ready position or whatever. Daniel Perry pulled out his concealed handgun or revolver and fired some shots, ended up shooting Garrett Foster and ended up fatally killing Garrett Foster. Once he fired those shots, the crowd dispersed, kind of like turn on a light and cockroaches, scatter. He proceeded to 1st Street, goes down to 1st Street, makes a left turn, comes to a stop. He then calls 911, and this is where he makes a mistake. He calls 911, police get there, and he immediately start talking to the police. Didn't exercise his right to remain silent. Just identify himself. Here's my identification. I just had a situation that happened at this particular intersection, this address, whatever, and I had to defend myself. Instead of just saying that, he expanded on that, ended up going down to the police station, doing demonstrations in the police interrogation room, showing the police officers, what Garrett Foster was doing, what he did, what the protesters were doing, giving a full explanation of everything instead of exercising his right to remain silent. And then he did another major mistake, and that was giving the police officer his cell phone and giving him the passwords to his accounts so that the police department can log into his, all his different social media accounts. They can log into his messenger and, just everything, access to everything. And so, of course, there's some things that we say, we talk to people in private over messenger or text message that you don't expect to be heard by anyone else. And he said some things that, may have been questionable. The fact that he didn't like Black Lives Matter protesters. The fact that, if he came across a protester, how he would defend himself. If they did so-and-so A, B, C, and D, he would do E and F. And so the jury said, hey, this guy was looking for a fight. This guy was looking to get in a situation. He wanted to shoot and kill someone, so they convicted him. It's usually not what you do when it comes to defending yourself. It's usually what happens after that that gets you in trouble. That's why it's important that you lawyer up, get an attorney, get a legal plan, exercise your right to remain silent. So we had Nico Daisy, Nico Daisy was a medic. So when Daniel Perry fired the shot at Garrett Foster, and then the crowd dispersed, Daniel Perry hits the gas, goes to 1st Street. As he's driving to 1st Street, Nico Daisy fires shots at Daniel Perry's vehicle. And he testified on the stands, the reason he fired those shots is so that the police could identify the vehicle later on. And folks, that is the exact example of aggravated assault or deadly conduct. You cannot fire at a vehicle just to identify the vehicle.
And you asked the students that in your class, right? Can you do this? Can you shoot at a vehicle?
That's right.
And when they say yes, you say no.
No, you can never shoot at a vehicle. It's never good to shoot at a vehicle. That's aggravated assault or deadly conduct. That's for the movies. That's not for reality. Just like you can't shoot trespassers, you cannot fire warning shots in Texas. You can't do that. You can't fire warning shots. You can't shoot trespassers. You can't shoot at a vehicle. So just some things to think about. And he actually testified on the stands the fact that he was literally, you know, literally committing aggravated assault or deadly conduct. And so, he was actually a good student in class, by the way. Very good student, listened. I think he realized some things that he'd done wrong. And so luckily his case was dropped or dismissed by the DA. And so he was not prosecuted and allowed to testify against against Daniel Perry. That's how life goes. Yeah. But it cost him some money. It cost him. He had to pay for attorney fees. Everyone's got to pay for attorney fees because they did not have a legal plan. Yes, you have a right to carry a gun. Yes, you have a right to defend yourself. But while doing so, do you have some type of legal plan once you defend yourself? What are you going to do once you pull that trigger? Who's going to help you? Who's going to come to your aid? Do you have an attorney that you can call right then and there? That is important. And so that's why the stand your ground law and the castle doctrine are very important.